422. First, so everybody signed mine, can't sign anybody else's, right?
Exactly. That's why I said we gotta make sure we keep the.
Real quickly, let's take a look at the housing market, right? So this is the lone daily. There's one daily in Pueblo City. So if you're going to find where the rental places are, it's going to be Craigslist. It's going to be that little five and dime little magazine that covers all of southern Colorado, the Chieftain, or the Pulp, or maybe random post on Facebook. So there's only one place for rent, and it's a trailer. So if you want to rent a home in Pueblo City, you're only stuck with a trailer for $570, which is probably per month, right? And also a $570 deposit, which you probably won't get back. You can't have any pets, though. No smoking. So if you were interested in the only place, the only trailer, or the only place that's for rent, you can get a trailer from 719-561-2663. So make sure you give them a call and jump on. A great article that was written to the July 17th, 2018, the Tuesday paper of the Chieftain. You have this man named Richard McIndoe. So Richard McIndoe, he's talking about instant runoff voting. So Pueblo City had the opportunity to get us the best, perfect, greatest democracy ever devised, ever imagined, ever thought up, and they chose not to do it. Instead, we're going to have this Kyrgyzstan cutthroat election. So what's going to happen with the Kyrgyzstan cutthroat election? Well, 21 people are going to be voted off the island in one fell swoop, right? So ranked choice voting, the biggest thing that he mentions here is that Dennis Flores lied. Dennis Flores says that ranked choice voting does not ensure that the winning candidate will receive a majority of all votes cast. That's the entire fucking point of ranked choice voting, to ensure a majority winner. You keep going until there's a majority. It says that the first ranked choice voting laws were enacted in 1912. Basalt Telluride. What's more depressing is that Flores' comments imply about Pueblo voters. He thinks that the making a few choices, he thinks we're stupid. Dennis Flores thinks we're stupid. He didn't win by majority victory. He don't give a shit about majority-backed victories. He don't care about true blue democracy. He's just scared if you change the election system, he won't be able to win through his corrupt ways. So the two-round voting system, the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? Two-round is the best. The Kyrgyzstan cutthroat election, great idea. So the other thing that I want to mention was that he had sent information to all the city council members. So it was like, what, did you just ignore this shit? You didn't even look at it, did you? You didn't even, I sent you the information. You want information about ranked choice voting? Well, here it is. Nah, you're a stubborn old goat head. And the stubborn old...
We had a great party at noon.
Did ya?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, where's our dessert? I know, we should have brought you cookies. Did we have any cookies left?
No.
No cookies left.
We had some fruit left, but I took it to the office.
Getting into an argument with the person, they said, oh, there is recycling centers here. Yeah, like here, there, and there's private, and you got to drive all over the goddamn fucking place. There's no government recycling center. Because the reason why I know that, and the reason why I didn't know that there wasn't, nobody was talking about the homeless shelter. We haven't had a fucking homeless shelter for fucking decades. Until we were talking about putting one in, and then somebody, you know, somewhere through the grapevine, eventually somebody slipped them, they said, oops, we've never had a damn homeless shelter. Same thing with the recycling center. How do I know that? Because we just now fucking put one in. So, all right, we got a brand new recycling center, Pueblo, so let's, you know, give credit where credit is due. That's exciting. That's a wonderful opportunity. We get to go recycle. This is downtown from 1 to 6 p.m. every Thursday and Friday, and from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. So we get a recycling center. We got 2 days to do. We could do it in the afternoon, Thursday and Friday afternoons, or do it during, you know, during the day, or during 10 to. Recycling center is going to be set up at 1595 Stockyard Road. It's accessible from South La Crosse Avenue, North Colorado Highway 227 on the road between the city's east side and Salt Creek Bridge. This is also next to a place where you could drop off large size trash drop-off site. such as bulky items such as mattresses, sofas, chairs. Now, listen to this great deal that Pueblo City offers the entire city, right? You get a $10 voucher for only $10, and this is you get 2 vouchers per home. For only $10 per voucher, you can go ahead and drop your trash off. You got a mattress, give me $10 and you go ahead and drop it off. You got, a big ass fucking chair, $10, and they'll take it for you, not free of charge, right, for $10. And that's a voucher. So what's the typical price? Fucking $50 right here that basically just tells me everything I need to know. The last free recycle drop-off project by the health department ended in 2010. So we haven't had a free recycle drop-off for the last 8 years. You want to tell me we got fucking recycling? Why? Because of what? Roots recycling? The private corporations? Maybe. But in terms of government shit, and then how fucking efficient is this shit? So it just seems like people would rather be like, oh, you're wrong, instead of saying, hey, what you're looking for, there it is right there. Yeah, if you knew where it was, then, but that would require you to help somebody, right? Oh, you'd rather just be like, nuh-uh, you don't know what you're talking about. So it's great to see this resurrected. This is Susan Finzel Aldred, Environmental Coordinator for the Pueblo Department of Public Health and Environment. We haven't had one since 2010. We haven't had a recycling center drop-off for 8 fucking years. No homeless shelter.
Un groupe, ou bien là le servi un secteur. C'est ça qui fait deuxième grosse décision qui est difficile, après décision équipement, qui fait que je vous dis, 1 kilomètre route.
Talk about contamination. They have all the sections, so bring in your plastics, glass bottles, and different papers. So they have specific actual things, so don't contaminate their shit. I'm just going to read this from all the way down. So this is the editorial from the Chieftain. The free disposal of recyclable items is a good start, but far from a solution to Pueblo's broader problems of trash and illegal dumping. The city seriously needs to reconsider making trash hauling mandatory or to be paid through a fee on monthly water bills. Let's raise our water taxes to pay for trash. Property owners, whether homeowners or rental landlords, may not feel compelled to have commercial trash pickup, but virtually everyone has running water, so we can fuck everybody that gets running water and make them pay for shit that they don't even need to pay for. Water bills are the most expeditious way to increase the number of people with trash. That's the best way, huh? Also, commercial trash haulers typically offer separate containers for recyclables not to be mixed into the trash and garbage, awaiting a broader solution for recycling, even if it's only starting. Absolutely appalled. It's disgusting what the International Monetary Fund is going to do. So Haitian people, learn this. Fuck the IMF. Fuck the IMF. The IMF is trying to suck blood out of a turnip. They're trying to take Haitian blood. They are taking their pound of flesh, and they still want their pound of flesh. They still want to raise gasoline prices. They still want to steal your state's electricity grid. They don't want to have a state monopoly on electricity. How else are you going to provide state electricity? So fuck the IMF. The Haitian people only make $2 a day. 80% of the Haitian people make $2 a day. You're going to raise gas from $3 to $5 when they only make $2 a day. That's going to take them 2.5 days just to be able to afford 1 gallon of gasoline. $2 a day. What can you get with $2 a day? A goddamn, Wendy's fucking burger? 2 burgers, huh? The entire day you work, the entire day.
Coûter l'État moins que 400 000 $. Ça veut dire nous parler de terrassement avec revêtement. Parce que les amis nous qui ont une entreprise dans le pays, entreprise de construction, qui ont profité, remercier eux.
Just gathered here, assorted real estate thing, thriftynickelpueblo.com, June 28, 2018, July 19th, 2018, and then I got Pueblo Chieftain Real Estate. Let's start with the Pueblo Chieftain. You have just 3 things for rent. You have a home for rent, $750, and that's for a cute duplex, 2-bed, central air, $570, 2-bed on Mesa, no pets, no smoking. So $570, and then 2 and 3 bedroom Harmony Ridge apartments. And that's it. So you only have 3 apartments, $570 and $750. It's a duplex, so you'd be living next to somebody. This one's a mobile home, and that's it. Yeah, there's office space there. If you want to get creative, then you could probably get yourself some office space. But this is definitely a landlord's market. This is a landlord's market. Look at this shit. This is $900 for Couple homes for rent, $625 for a 2-bedroom home, 1 bath in Belmont. No pets, no smoking whatsoever. No pets, no friends. All right, this is Kim Schwab. So some corporate thing. 3-bedroom house, $700 in Olney Springs. So that's out in the middle of fucking nowhere. $700 a month plus deposit and utilities. Call Linda. So that sounds terrifying. $800 down deposit and $800 per month for a 2-bedroom home. 1107 Jones, 975, non-smoking, no pets. This is shitty. This is a horrible fucking market for renters. The only thing that's affordable, $525. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a half a studio, 1 bath, $525. But $785 for a 2-bedroom, $525 for a studio, $575 for a studio. $750 for a 2-bedroom.
Alrighty. Got our first set, guys.
You weren't kidding, huh?
No, I wasn't.
He said he
I wasn't. No, we're going to get them done, and we're done with that. On with the campaign. All right. See you later.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
See you later. Okay.
Thank you.
And what do you got, 4 days to look at those, or is there a
Nah, there's no limit.
Is there?
Because it's just going to be, we have to set the ballot title
Okay.
by September 7th. So sometime between the last day to hand in.
But you'll look at these right away.
Yeah,
right?
hopefully.
You'll let us know.
Yeah,
If there's any issue.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
A couple news items here, July 21st, 2018. I'm going to talk more about the baseball stadium here in a second. They have Cory Gardner wants Russia to be listed as a terror state. That seems a little bit too much, right? So it's like if you go one, can we meet in the middle somewhere here? Donald Trump has bombed 200 Russians in Syria. He's ramping up in Ukraine and on the border, so he has actually been pretty confrontational with Russia, but I don't want a Cold War anymore, so I don't mind the fact, that the leaders of our country are getting along. That's a good fucking thing. So this is the senator from Colorado, and the senator from Colorado is reacting to the, buddy-buddy love story between Putin and Trump. So Cory Gardner, he says he wants Russia to be listed. I have to postpone it for a second. This baseball stadium, essentially, Janet Wilson got the baseball stadium.
Aksepte ak nou.
There's not going to be a baseball stadium. You have the Runyon Field Sports Complex, the gym, Diorio, I don't know. They're doing some things. We got all these baseball fields all over the place, but only half of them are being used, and they only get used an hour per day. So the questions was for Sal Pace. There's 3 county commissioners. Sal Pace is stepping down. So they asked Chris Wiseman and Zach Swearingen, who is taking Sal Pace's seat. One of these 2 candidates will be the new county commissioner. So this could swing it, right? The more Republican or more Democrat. Chris Wiseman, the Democrat, says that it's absolutely a no. There are so many more important issues in Pueblo, and we're being caught up on this one. But for me, everything that I've seen, and I know the people at the county are working really hard. I know that Sal Pace has a lot of faith in this program, but for me, Chris Wiseman, he wouldn't even take it to the people. He's like, I wouldn't even ask the people to vote on it because the economics at this point doesn't make sense. They both need substantially more information, which has been a big criticism. There's no information. How can anybody just say, hey, you want to go ahead and spend $25 fucking million on a baseball stadium? Yeah, sure, fucking why not? Who gives a shit, right? Well, some people do give a shit. Wiseman says it's not that he doesn't trust voters. He says it just doesn't make economic sense. If we could come up with a proposal that could do that, I might consider taking that vote to the people. But he says that there needs to be a lot more clarification before anything moves forward. Swearingen has also done a bunch of research. He talked to Jeff Katofsky, the owner of the Orem Owlz. So we're not going to get a baseball stadium for owls no more, right? So it wasn't even for humans, it was for owls. Well, why do we need a stadium for owls? I don't know. So owls can... Swearingen talked to hotel developers. He talked to elected officials. He even talked to elected officials in Orem, Utah as well. And he said there's several discrepancies. He says Pueblo County is the lender, and this guy is asking for a loan. You can't get a loan with a business plan that has a bunch of holes in it. He said the project should halt and be taken to the voters. So Swearingen says that this should be an issue that's taken to the voters, but Wiseman says that it should not. Both candidates were uncomfortable with the reports from County Commissioner Garrison Ortiz that funds from the voter-approved ballot issue 1A in 2016 have crept up in a new report about the projects. In 2016, voters approved 1A, which allowed the county to keep an expected $66 million in tax revenues deferred from new companies here in exchange for building a specific list of projects. The measure passed 47,000 to 29,000. There are 20 projects in the 1A Community Improvement Program's original minor league baseball plan called for using $8 million of that money. So it was $8 million. I've heard $25 million, but $8 million was going to be used from the 1A funds. And so originally those funds are going to build a youth sports facility, to build a stadium. After the pushback, so that was the funds that was going to be used for the youth sports facility. Instead, it was going to go to the stadium. And then you had Terry Hart and Pace. They said that they would not use 1A funds. But then Chris Nichols says, I don't know. It looks like they're going to use these 1A funds. And so Chris Wiseman says, you can't use that shit. No, when the 1A funds is very specific projects, specific money for specific projects. It should be used as it was intended or represented at the time. There shouldn't be any manipulation of those funds at all. Swearingen questioned why the county didn't include the project in its list of 1A funds if the idea was hatched in February 2016.
Pour asphalte là, pour le fond baisser, le cabanon kilomètre là à $100 000. Ça veut dire, les nous vivons dans route là, il y a un problème d'allô. Il y a un problème pour nous faire toute construction, travail, drainage, dès qu'on ne parfois arrive à écouter nous, presque $400 000.
I think that the issues that I'm going to bring forward are issues that concern all of, or I would say most of the people of Pueblo. We talked about transparency and accountability, having oversight committees, making sure our money is well spent, the money that we do have in the budget, that it's used for the things that we talk about being a problem in Pueblo. So if we have an opiate problem, drug problem, gang problem, we should be using resources for those types of things so we can fix that.
Swearingen, he just says, hopefully we don't have to make lemonade out of lemons. What the fuck, if life hands you lemons, you're supposed to make lemonade, so I don't know what the fuck Swearingen is even trying to say there. So they essentially are the exact same, but Zach Swearingen, the Republican, and Chris Wiseman, the Democrat, are against this minor league baseball program. The significant difference is that Zach Swearingen wants to give it to the voters and ask them if they want to use any of the 1A funds to spend $8 million to $25 million on a minor league baseball team that wasn't even making money in Utah, whereas Chris Wiseman just says it's not a priority. It's just, no, he doesn't want to put it on the ballot. So Chris Wiseman doesn't want to put it on the ballot, just wants to kill this idea right here and now, which is the Democrat. Sal Pace is the Democrat, so that's interesting disagreement there. Whereas Zach Swearingen says, well, let's put it on the ballot and let the people decide. So he has real fast. The D60 recall petitions were on their way to the clerk by Mark Uson, DePrince, and Peyton Roth. But I don't know if they got intimidated, but there was never any signatures actually turned in, so there's not going to be any recall efforts for the board. This was actually quite exciting that Mark DePrince and Peyton Roth was actually pursuing this. They could become the next school board members if they would have actually followed through with that, because that is remarkable. The students are saying they're sick of the leadership, and they instead, kick them out and then put the students. The students should be in charge anyways. So I'm pretty sad about that. I hope they're okay. I hope they weren't intimidated. I hope nobody, scared them into shutting up. So Leroy Garcia is a Democrat, a state senator. He has an election coming up in November. The only person running against him is a libertarian named John Pickerill from Pueblo West. He's an engineer, retired.
And if we ignore it and use only law enforcement to deal with those, then we're not really fixing it. All we're doing is reacting to what we have going on instead of saying, well, what is the cause of this gang problem? Why are young people going into gangs? And why are people selling drugs? Well, of course, they're trying to make money, right? Like everybody else. When you have a city that doesn't have a lot of jobs or opportunity, then you're going to have kids and adults reaching out to make money wherever they can. So that's a huge issue, I think, in Pueblo. We don't have enough for kids to do. I've been saying this for a long time. I think if you want to engage kids and keep them out of gangs, you've got to have something there for them. We don't teach skills. We don't have a lot of counseling on is true relationship.
Sal Pace is not doing a very good politician's job here. Sal Pace is a lame duck. Sal Pace, this is his baby. He's pushing this. This is almost like Obama's, what was that, TPP. He pushes this horrible trade policy thing that, hands a fucking baseball pitch, lobs a nice underhanded baseball pitch right down the middle for Trump to hit it right down his fucking throat. So this is the same shit Sal Pace is saying. Let's be very clear. These people are very close to seceding again in their objective to prevent anything new from coming to Pueblo. So Sal Pace is getting frustrated. He feels that he keeps bringing new shit in and people keep killing it. But, where the fuck is the homeless shelter, Sal Pace? He wants to get $8 million at least, maybe $25 million for this minor league baseball thing. We don't even have a goddamn homeless fucking shelter. Where's the affordable housing? Where's all these jobs? Where's all this entrepreneur seeding money? On Pickerel, he says the biggest obstacle to economic growth is how productive members of our society are forced to pay for failed government welfare programs, both corporate welfare and social welfare. So this minor league baseball stadium would have been corporate welfare. So this is an Occupy and a Tea Party win, shutting this minor league baseball stadium down. This is a Janet Wilson win, a Garrison Ortiz win. There is a writer in the paper that had an article. So Pickerel, he says most of these are federal programs, none of them authorized by the Constitution, and all of them are making more and more people dependent on a government handout. He urges that social welfare be turned back to community institutions such as churches and charities. He says he defines freedom as the ability of a person to do what he chooses as long as it does not conflict with someone else doing the same. Pickerel said his political activism started with his support for Ron Paul. In Iraq, he served on the staff of David Petraeus. The multi-use stadium would be built by the tax dollars the developer himself is paying our community. So Sal Pace is making it sound like the county is going to pay no money, but Chris Nickel, Ray Aguilera, and Garrison Ortiz all have been challenging this thing. 5 other council members have either said they support moving forward the project or are waiting for more details to emerge. So Pace and County Commissioner Terry Hart are proponents of the project. And when asked, Leroy Garcia says he served with David Petraeus, but he says this thing about the war and empire. He was a troop. He was a soldier. Okay, so John Pickerel says the best way to support our troops is to keep them out of the unconstitutional, undeclared foreign wars that do little but line the pockets of the military-industrial complex. So we got 900 military bases in 150 countries right now, so that's a major policy. I resent how the Pueblo chieftain controls the daily narrative of Pueblo City. So the chieftain, even amongst alternative folks, even amongst people that criticize the chieftain, will quote it, or they can't wait until they see their names, and then all of a sudden, when they're mentioned in it, now they're talking about, how this respectable organization, this is a Republican rag. It is a right-wing Republican rag, and they have been lying about the first ever mayor. They lied about Mark Aliff, what his position, what he was running for in city council, and it's just that they're the lone daily narrative. And so you would think that the lone daily narrative should get the scrutiny it deserves, but unfortunately, they get by with being, the truth tellers, which Dennis Flores flat out lies, and they quote him. When you lie, Janet Wilson is mentioned in this article, and she's commenting on it. So let me talk about the article. This is Peter Roper. Should council members resign to run for mayor of Pueblo? I could see both ways, but no, I don't think they should. If you're going to run for mayor, why would you have to give up your power now? If you give up your power, then you're just, it's a total crapshoot. You're kind of just throwing yourself off a cliff and hoping that you land somewhere. But it almost seems like that's how you should do it in a job, right? You shouldn't quit your job until you have another job lined up. So why should they quit their job? So I don't really agree with the point, but I could see, both sides. If I was a candidate, I would probably make a point of it too. But that's exactly, I guess, my point is that's where these candidates are coming from. So Lori Winter Oh, yeah, Miss Principles, right? Miss Principles, that's all she cares about. Lori Winter is sitting there saying that they should resign from city council to run for mayor. They want to handicap the people who are running for...
What are maybe some parenting skills and relationship skills. And we're going into jail. We talked about not having enough programs so that when people get out of jail, they've actually got a support system or some help.
Roper just essentially said that this is something that Janet Wilson had said, that they should resign, and so he wrote a whole article about it. He interviewed Noraki, who had actually said that he wasn't for it, but he would look into it. Lori Winter said that she was absolutely for it, but what they're doing is they're just handicapping the city council folks who are running. So there's two, possibly a third that's going to be running. So that means two, possibly a third. What does Peter Roper know, right? Is Chris Nickel going to jump in? Mark Aliff, is he going to jump in? And so they're saying that they must quit their city council seat in order to. So she had actually, Janet Wilson had clarified her position, and she says it wasn't that they should resign to run for a new position. It was that they shouldn't pass any laws or legislation that have to do with the mayor, such as ranked choice voting, which Dennis Flores flat out lied. He flat out lied. Dennis, the whole point of ranked choice voting is to get a majority back to winner, but he says that they don't get a majority back.
Après, je finis prendre une décision. Deuxième grosse décision, je prends une décision pour l'État suspendre sur.
Hi, I'm Nicole, a fellow Pueblo resident and a campaign supporter for Janet Wilson. My name is Noemi Morales. I'm representing the Latino community here in Pueblo. As a fellow resident, I care for the success in our community and the unity. And I support Janet Wilson as a mayor.
Yes.
So what experience can you bring to the table that could benefit Pueblo?
Well, I have a lot of business experience, and I think that's what's needed. I have a lot of finance experience, and I think that's important too. If you're going to be looking after almost 100 million in Pueblo, you really need to be able to spot certain things that stand out, and I think I do a pretty good job of that. That's what I've done in my background. So
that you have the Pueblo's Council. One thing that Peter Roper did catch was that the Pueblo's Council, they re-upped. They passed a bunch of laws that was similar to the mayor's laws, so they just basically said these are the same laws, and they wanted to make sure that we have three branches of government. This is a good thing. What Pueblo Council did, if they just re-upped and reauthorized their own power, but what extra powers did they give themselves? If they did give them some extra powers, that's the whole point of having the three branches of government. We have three centers of power, and they're going to fight for their center of power very jealously against each other. This is going to stop tyranny. People want a strong mayor. We already got a strong city manager, very authoritarian, can do whatever the hell he wants to do. So I want three branches of government, which we currently have, and I would still like to see three branches of government. So it's kind of a little disheartening to see Janet criticize the three branches of government.
Buildings sitting empty that have been empty since I came, and I wonder why is that allowed in a city where you have a blight problem and you have drug addicts and whatnot going in and out of these buildings that are sitting empty. So there's a problem there that we haven't been able to deal with, that issue. And I have a few solutions with that. One of them was talking about, taxing, extra tax. If your building is sitting as an eyesore, and we have plenty of them around, and why not? Encourage people. If somebody can afford to have a building sitting, like that building that's downtown between 4th and 5th on Main Street, that takes up a whole half a block, and that's been sitting empty. Why is that? So if a person's got that much money that they can leave a building just sitting unused, when it could...
It looks like they're changing the job from a strong mayor to more of a partner with council. That is how the mayor is going to have to run the goddamn fucking show anyways. It's going to be a mayor, and you're going to run with the city council. City council is going to write your laws, and the mayor is going to sign the laws. The mayor isn't going to pass a single fucking law because the mayor can't do it. He's not a legislator. We got three branches of government. And we also have municipal government, or municipal court, too, which is one judge. Are they going to add more judges? Are they going to change the judicial system? Are they going to leave it up to the 10th judicial system? Are they going to make the criminal justice system accessible to regular folks, too? I don't know anybody that has ever gone to the courthouse to actually resolve their disputes. Maybe for criminal things, but never for any civil matters. For civil matters, there is really no arbitrators out here. And the court system, all that money we spend for judges and courts and shit, and they can't help resolve disputes, I think they should do a better job. That Peter Roper caught was that they were doubling down on the powers that they already had. This 70 changes, okay? So most people didn't read the 70 changes that have been put in. Now, I have been comparing and contrasting the 70 changes and with what City Council had, changed. And some of the, it seems reasonable to me, but I'm going to continue to read because I'm like George Carlin. If the government says it, it's probably a lie. So I'm going to just compare and contrast. Did they give themselves any more powers than what the strong mayor ballot referendum had actually called for? If they gave themselves more power, then that's the problem. If they give themselves the exact same power just to remind the mayor that they are, they do have to confirm the department heads. So when people complain about city council, yeah, you don't want them to be overly aggressive, but if you're running for mayor, you're sound like a dictator. You sound like you're an absolute dictator, and you don't give a shit. People that was against the baseball stadium who I hadn't noticed: Tom Crawshall, Chris Nickel, Tom Crawshall, Garrison Ortiz. So that's a huge, one of the 3 county commissioners, the president of city council, and Tom Crawshall, one of the candidates for mayor. But Janet Wilson was just so strong about it. She was just like, no, absolutely not. $25 million baseball stadium, no. So she just was so dismissive of it. I'm inclined to believe that she had led the charge to squashing it. So since that baseball stadium had got vetoed, now Peter Roper is paying attention to the other candidates, the less serious ones. They only publish here and there. I don't know. I don't want to hate the chieftain too much but you should doubt them. Shouldn't you doubt them? I mean, they publish like how they keep on, but I feel like they have a monopoly on information. So if you talk to the chieftain, Lori Winter is sitting there saying that the members of city council need to resign if they're going to run for mayor. Really? That's what we're going to change the law just so we can give you the advantage in the race? They do have a great advantage, and that makes them part of the establishment. That's how basically, every governor, every president, every mayor, there's a lot of positions that come from the inner cabinet. So Hickenlooper, who's going to succeed Hickenlooper? It could have been any of his, the Secretary of State or Treasurer, could have been his lieutenant governor. Anybody that had worked with Hickenlooper was very much a viable candidate. Anybody in his cabinet, anybody in his inner circle, the heads of the departments, probably any city council person could probably become governor, right? So Lori Winter is not principled. She only wants to handicap the city council folks, and they're the establishment. So I don't know. I feel their criticism, but I don't.
Be used for all kinds of things, incubators or low-income apartments for veterans or stuff like that. Then maybe we should have a drugs and gangs in Bessemer. We have break-ins all throughout the city. I've talked to people. Pueblo West I think police told me that they have the highest crime rate, unbeknownst to most of Pueblo who don't understand where crime is focused. I think when it's the east side, because it's big crime, like somebody gets killed, but we don't look at the crime statistics, and I think it would be important to bring up crime statistics and talk about, that it's the whole city. And I'm not just concerned with the east side, I'm concerned about all of Pueblo.
August 1st, 1876, 1 year before Reconstruction, Ulysses S. Grant signed Colorado into statehood. The Confederates fought against it. There's this awesome article that had 11 facts you did not know about the founding of Colorado. So the founding of Colorado, the Centennial State, 1876, exactly 100 years after the birth of the nation. Colorado jumps in. I think they're the 39th state or so, or 20th, 5th, 27th, I don't know. But here's some facts I thought was interesting. The first constitution that Colorado had come up with, because there were several charter conventions, constitutional conventions, which they had tried to make Colorado a state. The first constitution that they had written, 1865, was written in Spanish, German, and English. So they wanted everybody. I heard there was about 30 different languages in Pueblo when Pueblo first began. My bad. The first constitution, the one that was written in 1876, was written in Spanish, German, and English. 1865 was the Sand Creek Vindication Party. So I would join the Sand Creek Vindication Party. That's the third party that was at the Charter Convention, Constitutional Convention, 1865. It took about 3 or 4 or 5 times before Colorado would actually become a state, so those conventions were for naught. The Sand Creek Vindication Party. So the Sand Creek Vindication Party was a third party in 1865, and the first Constitution written in Spanish, German, and English was 1876. Now, I found this awesome-ass quote here. I'm just going to read it, but from a New York publication saying they did not want Colorado as a state. There is not a single good reason for the admission of Colorado. Indeed, if it were not for the mines in that mountainous and forbidden region, there would be no population there at all. The population, such as it is, population in Colorado, such as it is made up of a roving and unsettling horde of adventurers who have no settled homes there or elsewhere, and are only there solely because the state of semi-barbarism prevalent in that wild country suits their vagrant habits. There is something repulsive in the idea that a few handful of miners and reckless bushwhackers should have the same representation in the Senate as Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New York. So what a bunch of fucking snobs, right? Whoever said that in the New York publication. New York City, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York. So they should have the same representation in the Senate. They were against it. Very, very elitist and stuck up. Interesting. Just the opposition. You add a page to their autobiography. You add a page to their, all right, by criticizing them, you actually made them into something. So Colorado is a state, and so good for Colorado being a. When it comes to the 3 branches of government, I feel like I'm the only one that's championing these things. When it comes to a lot of different issues, I believe in referendum, recall, and initiative. These are great tools for democracy. I believe in charter conventions. I believe charter conventions are revolutionary. And I believe in the 3 branches of government. It's absolutely arbitrary, but it is there to prevent tyranny. So I am against tyranny. I am against authoritarian fascism. I am against right-wing authoritarian fascism and dictatorships. So I want 3 centers of power. I want a strong executive, a strong legislative branch, and a strong judicial branch. And I want them to jealously guard their power just as the founders had envisioned. So it's arbitrary, it's ridiculous, but it's necessary to stop tyranny.
You know, I'm sure everybody tries to do the right thing and they want to do best with their lives, but when you have a system, when you come out of jail and you don't have anything, you have no money, you have no support, and you don't know what you want to do, then it's easy to go back into the same problems and hang with the same people, and then you're back in jail again. So do we have the types of support systems out there to encourage people to stay out of trouble and to help them get ahead? You know, we have to look at the cost of what is it costing Pueblo for the legal system and the jails and whatever, and you know, could we be using more money for preventative stuff? I've been here 6 going on 7 years now, and I see the same
famous articulation of the 3 branches of government. The separation of powers is found in the Spirit of the Laws by Montesquieu, Book 11. In every government, there are 3 sorts of power: the legislative, the executive in respect to things dependent on the law of nations, and the executive in regard to matters that depend on the civil law. By virtue of the first, the prince or magistrate enacts temporary or perpetual laws and amends or abrogates those that have already been enacted. That's city council. That is your House of Representatives and your Senate for the state and the federal government. By the second, he makes peace or war. This is the executive branch. Sends or receives embassies, establishes the public security, and provides against invasions. By the third, this is the judicial executive. He punishes criminals. The third, he punishes criminals or determines the disputes that arise between individuals. The latter we shall call the judiciary power, and the other simply the executive power of the state. So there it is. That's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial power. So judicial power has the power of the Constitution for judicial review, and it has the power to throw people in jail and to fine people, and it has the power to resolve disputes that arise between individuals. So to punish criminals, to resolve disputes, to have judicial review. The executive branch, on the other hand, is the state executive, so they can spend money, they can start wars, they can send out, it says embassies, so emissaries, representatives to go talk to others, welcome people, establish the public security, so to establish the government, internal government. The city council did change the laws, but they give themselves some power by adding an item on the agenda, which I feel like they should, and everybody in Pueblo should have that power. But the power to pardon goes from the president of the city council. Right now, Chris Nickel can pardon anybody and everybody he wants to. Anybody that is guilty of the municipal code. So anybody that has weeds or they have this or that, Chris Nickel can issue a pardon for them until 2019. Then that power will go to the mayor. So that city council actually giving some of their power away. So the three branches of government, still there's checks and balances all over the place. So the power to pardon, here it says that the mayor shall have the power to grant pardons and remit fines and penalties. It's Book 11, The Spirit of the Laws, Montesquieu, okay? So this is the Baron de Montesquieu, Charles Louis de Secondat Baron de la Brede et de Montesquieu. Montesquieu. Okay, so he's a French judge, man of letters, a political philosopher. He's known for his theory of the separation of powers, which is implemented in many constitutions throughout the world. He's also known for securing the word despotism in the political lexicon. So he added despot into the political lexicon and the separation of powers. The separation of powers, this is the American Constitution. We started this Constitution, bullshit. Not even England has a Constitution. Why do we still, England fucking burned down our White House. Why do we still fuck with England, right? I thought we declared independence. We still got this English tongue, this nasty filth. Montesquieu had worded the legislative power by saying that the magistrate enacts temporary or perpetual laws. So that's what city council does. They pass perpetual laws or temporary laws. That's all they do. They just write the laws. So they're either writing constitutions that's going to live till the end of time, or they're just passing an ordinance here and there. They also have budget powers too. So those are the biggest ones. They write the laws and they have budgetary powers. But they temporary or perpetual laws, and amends or abrogates those that have already been enacted. So to change which has already been passed, or to pass new temporary or perpetual laws. So Montesquieu points out how the commissioner style of government in Pueblo County is corrupt as fuck, because the commission style is the legislative and the executive branch being the same government. So there is no separation of powers.
And what I would hope to see with the people that are writing is that they had some vision for the future Pueblo, and not just, going along as we have been, because we don't need to keep doing the same things we have been. You go out and talk to people and it's like, well, we have the same people and they do the same things and there's no change, and we have these issues, we've had them for a while, they haven't been addressed. So where is the plan to address these things? There's lots of things that we can be doing that, that I don't think are being even thought of. So maybe we need somebody to think about what Pueblo needs.
When it comes to Pueblo City, you got Sam Azad, who is the chief executive, and then you have the 7 city council members, which is the legislative branch, and then you got Carla Sykes, the lone municipal judge. That's your 3 branches of government for the city. For the county, you have the 10th judicial branch. The county is an administrative unit of the state. So when we figure out what is Pueblo law, we combine the federal government, the federal constitution, the state constitution, and Pueblo City Charter. All those are combined, and that's what is essentially Pueblo law. So the city has a charter that it has to abide by, but the county, on the other hand, is a creature of the state. So it is an administrative unit. Essentially, they have to do whatever the state commands them to do. I'm sure they have some degree of autonomy, but the state controls the county, and the commissioner. Pueblo City, there's a clear division. You have the municipal branch, then you have the legislative branch, and then you have the executive branch. It's going to change to the mayor. It's the city manager correctly, but it's eventually going to change to the mayor, and the legislative branch is city council. City council being the 7 city council members. And so when you have the legislative and the executive branch inside the commission-based system, the county, Pueblo County is combined the legislative and executive branch. So you have the 10th judicial branch, which is the state. That's their judicial system. The 10th judicial branch, which is about 10 judges, 3 magistrates, and 3 county judges. But then you also have the executive and the legislative branches combined into 3 county commissioners. There's 3 county commissioners, and those 3 commissioners are essentially the 3 tyrants. So there is a check and balance, but they're both the government. The government's a tool. So the government is a tool, and if it's being run by the working class, then the government is a tool for the working people. The problem, and this is where the libertarians get it right, is that the government has become a tool for the corporations. We're going to spend $25 fucking million for a baseball stadium. Talk about corporate welfare. And then the city already, we got Muni fleet maintenance, Muni golf courses, Muni human resources, Muni information technology. We've municipalized a lot of shit. Housing and citizen services, Muni law, Muni parks, Muni planning and development, Muni public works, Muni purchasing, Muni wastewater, Muni Pueblo transit, Muni civil service, Muni finance, Muni water, Muni parks, Muni firefighters, Muni police. And now we're pushing for Muni electricity, and I want Muni internet and Muni waste to electric trash, Muni food, air, land, Muni Russian steel.
Banking experience, financial planner experience, CFO for a minor league baseball team. I was a district manager for a large retail chain. So that gives you a very wide range of experience, I think. So most people know me just for Pueblo House, but this is my passion. This is the fun stuff. The main reason why I'm running, I would say, because we have terrific people. We have a very diverse city. And I think we could be doing more. I think we could attract more people here.
Pueblo County is the commissioner-based system. The 3 commissioners are Terry Hart, Garrison Ortiz, and Sal Pace. Sal Pace is a Democrat who is stepping down, and he's, basically being stupid with this baseball stadium. He's forcing Chris Wiseman to draw the line in the sand, which I think he's correct on, saying that, there's greater priorities we need to spend our money on instead of a minor league baseball team. But the Swearingen said that we need to put it on the ballot. So we're going to vote for this thing now. So is this thing going to keep on, rearing its ugly head all throughout the campaign? This is not a winning strategy. It's somewhat progressive, but it's a $25 million boondoggle. So I don't know. I think you should just let it die. Anyways, Pueblo County, there's 3 county commissioners, but they're both the legislative branch and the executive branch. They are combined, the legislative and the executive branch. So they pass the laws, they write the laws, and then they execute the laws that they pass. Both Janet Wilson and Charlotte Perez and Janet Wilson both understand the rule of law, and they agree with it. Nobody should be above the law. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not rape, and thou shalt not attack others. Those are the 4 worst evils out there. That is Johnny Law. And everybody, you cannot hit innocent people, you cannot rob innocent people, you cannot rape innocent people, and you cannot murder innocent people. Even during, no murder. If we can't agree that murder is wrong. So they both are rightfully in favor of the rule of law. Charlotte Perez said that nobody is above the law, just like Janet did, but she added, including these corrupt police officers or corrupt elected officials. So nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. They're not supposed to be in a functioning democracy. So what I want to talk about, my favorite part about the legislative and the executive powers are united in the same person or in the same body of magistrates. There could be no liberty because apprehensions may arise lest the same monarch or senate should enact tyrannical laws to execute them in a tyrannical manner. That is Pueblo County's commissioner-style government. The legislative and executive powers are united in the same body of magistrates. Then there can be no liberty at all. Hello?
Hi, Mr. Masters. How are you today?
Hey, Mother, I was talking on to myself on this video camera about the 3 branches of government. You got any opinion about it?
I do. I would like to elaborate because of the 3 branches of government. I have learned that the judicial system actually is supposed to be there to help us as the people, and the executive.
There is some question about the veto. So the mayor gets a veto, but a supermajority in the next city council meeting will destroy that veto. So what does that mean? Well, that just means that you have a legislative branch and you have an executive branch. And if the legislative branch passes a law that the mayor doesn't like, the mayor can veto it. And it can only overcome his veto by getting a supermajority, 5 of 7 members. So if the city council right now, if they were to get a legislative block of 5 and they just stayed together and stayed loyal to each other, they would be able to override the mayor on any and every veto decision that he comes up with. By having the legislative block of 5, that is a veto-proof majority. So the mayor has veto power, but it's very little. It is very it's almost insignificant. There is no liberty if the judiciary power be not separated from the legislative and the executive. Were it joined with the legislative, the life and liberty of the subject would be exposed to arbitrary control, for the judge would be then the legislator. Were it joined to the executive power, the judge might behave with violence and oppression. We must separate executive, legislative, and judicial branch to stop tyranny. It's arbitrary, but it's to stop tyranny. There would be an end of everything. We're the same man or the same body, whether of the nobles or of the people, to exercise those 3 powers, that of enacting laws, that of executing the public resolutions, and of trying the causes of individuals. So there's the enacting, there's the writing of the law, there's the execution of the law, and then the trying of the causes of individuals. Okay, individuals, what's your problem? Okay, let's listen to your... The mayor doesn't vote. The mayor doesn't write any of the laws. The mayor can't write any temporary or permanent laws. And there's some powers where they have to share. City council gets confirmation powers on the municipal judges and the department heads. And they get a veto. They get a veto. The veto-proof majority. So the legislative veto would be having 5 people together, okay? So just work this out, right? Who's got the power and who doesn't have the power? If the mayor has to nominate and then the city council has to confirm, well, they both have the same power. Now, don't they? That means both groups of people. The mayor is going to have to find 4 majority folks to confirm his, his recommendations, his nominations. So the mayor nominates, and then if he can find 4 of the 7 city council folks to confirm, then he gets...
As far as tourism, by making the things that we already have bigger, what I find really troublesome is that the city has a huge blight problem and a huge garbage problem. And as far as I can see, nobody's really addressed it. What we've done is slap fines and fees on people who already maybe can't afford to take their garbage out, so we have to look at solutions for that. So, let's beautify the city, let's unify the city with people coming together, all aspects of the city, not just whether you're on east side or south side or north side, but to make every part of Pueblo, nice and attractive and safe. And so let's deal with the crime, let's deal with the drugs, let's deal with all of the issues that have come up on the survey again and again. But I see that I can bring something resourceful that maybe others wouldn't have thought of. That seems to be where I can get creative. We can do a lot of things without having a lot of money,
Can you say that Pueblo will benefit if you become a mayor?
Well, because number one, I don't know anything to anybody, and I think this is really important. Sometimes people get in office and they have certain ties to certain things, or they have friends that they want to take care of, or they're getting money from certain companies that may or may not be ethical. So I would say that, I'd like to think of myself as unbiased, unbought, and that I can really look at things and bring a fresh new approach to things. And I don't have an obligation to anybody. except the people of Pueblo, which is what the mayor should be looking after, is the people of Pueblo. There's no self-serving in this position. It's all about making the city great and bringing in those.
To think this through, let's assume that we're the president of city council at one point, and then we'll assume that we're the mayor at the next point. So if we're the mayor, what do we want to do? In order to get our agenda passed, we'll have to find 4 of the 7 friends. We'll have to work with 4 of the 7. You'd want to work with all of them, but at least 4, because that's the majority. The mayor does not get any vote on city council for the majority, for the vast, overwhelming majority of the measures that will be passed. Any of the measures that are passed will be passed by city council. So the mayor needs to get 4 of the 7 in order to get a majority, and then once he gets his majority, he can get every single thing of his passed. He could just, get 4 of them to vote for it. He signs off on it. Then it becomes law. That's the bare minimum he needs. If he gets 5, if he gets 6, if he gets 7 on the people, city council folks on his agenda, then he'll get, everything that he wants to get. If you're the president, well, the legislative branch, if the legislative branch appoints the executive and judicial powers, as Montesquieu indicated, there would be no separation or division of its power, since the power to appoint carries with it the power to revoke. So the executive power, this is interesting because the city council had the power to hire and fire municipal judges, and now the mayor will have the power to hire and fire municipal judges, with the city council confirming the new municipal judge, but the mayor can unilaterally fire a brand new judge, which is the judicial branch. This is the city's judiciary, and it could circumvent the 10th judicial branch. So the executive power ought to be in the hands of a monarch, because this branch of government, having need of dispatch, is better administered by one than by many. On the other hand, whatever depends on the legislative power is oftentimes better regulated by many than by a single person. But if there were no monarch and the mayor introduces the budget and Pueblo City Council has to confirm the budget, so they get confirmation powers on the budget, they get confirmation powers on the judges, they get confirmation powers on the department heads, but not the employees of the department. So any of the underlings, the mayor can hire and fire anybody underneath the department heads of all the I think the department heads would have the hiring, firing power, but that's the head honcho, the executive branch, is going to have it. So the mayor is going to have hiring and firing power for all the department employees, and city council can't say shit about it. So what's city council going to do? Well, they should organize themselves to get a veto-proof majority. If they get a veto-proof majority, 5 of 7, and Chris Nickel has his 4 loyal allies, then Chris Nickel will be able to push his agenda through. And the mayor will just have to sit there, like a dumb fuck. Basically, he has to, go along with it. What else? If there were no monarch and the executive power should be committed to a certain number of persons selected from the legislative body, there would be an end of liberty. By reason, the 2 powers would be united, as the same persons would sometimes possess and would be always able to possess a share in both. So there it is. That's the some quotes by Montesquieu from The Spirit of Laws, The Division of Powers. I very much support the 3 branches of government. I very much support direct democracy, direct peer democracy, initiative, referendum, recall. So the power comes from the people, and one of the ways that we're going to stop tyranny, because fuck it, king, right? Kings and queens, royalty was meant to be, overthrown. So the democracy, republics, the government that's constituted, that is given by the consent of the people, republic, democracy, these are the best 3 branches of government.
Things that we need. So I think you have to have a good spokesperson to represent Pueblo, who could sell the city, who could get those things that are needed into the city. If we're going to talk about tourism, we've had the Riverwalk for a long time. I don't see droves of people coming here. We've got a great chili festival. We've got all kinds of festivals. We need to make them bigger, attract more people, have campgrounds maybe, and RV parks and things that promote people coming here and make it easy for them to get here. We are, after all, on Highway 25, right? We're a destination between Denver and Trinidad. So we should have more people stopping. But if you look at Pueblo just from I-25, it's not real impressive. And so I know we're working on some art at the Drew Dix intersection, and I think that kind of thing where people see something that makes them want to get off the highway to come to Pueblo would be good. Yeah.
What can you say to the people of Pueblo to win your vote?
Well, I would hope that they know that I'm going to take care of all of the people of Pueblo and not just the people with money. I think the people that don't have money should have an equal voice, and I think every part of the city deserves to be treated with the same respect, the same amount of money, you know, the same dignity, and I think that's a big thing. I would hope that the people see that
the legislative power block of 5 is how they can fight against the mayor's veto. The mayor's veto isn't that much power. It only breaks, the mayor can break the tie. So if there's 1-1, which that won't happen, 2-2, that won't happen either. Most likely it'll be a 3-3 tie, and one person abstains, and then he'll be the tie-breaking vote. And then, you know, he can have a little bit of power there. He's got a tie-breaking vote, and then you've got a veto. So the veto only works if it's less than 5 of the 7 city council members. If 5 of the 7 city council members want it, then the city council is going to get it, and the mayor's just going to be standing there with his dick in his hand. So the city council could very much bully and force the mayor to their will. Now, the Pueblo City Council, they get a vote on the budget. They pass any and all permanent and or temporarily new laws and the amendments to old laws. So Pueblo, you know, I want my government to work together, but I want the 3 branches of government to work how they're supposed to work. So the mayor doesn't get legislative power. The mayor doesn't get judicial power. The legislative power is the power to pass laws. The judicial power is the power to throw lawbreakers in jail and to fine them. So the mayor could put pressure on the legislative branch. He could put pressure on the judicial branch. He could fire the judges, right? He could get judges in there that can throw any, you know, the lawbreakers in jail and fine them, but he can't do it himself. So he's got a check over the judicial power, which gives him some power, but you don't want him to have absolute power. I also believe that the mayor has the power to arrest, because the police branch works for the executive branch. And in order to keep the police branch under civilian control, I think they should be actually subordinate to all 3 branches of government. But to the executive branch, at the very least, they must have the power to arrest in order to combat the power of the police branch.
I'm Janet Wilson. I'm running for the mayor of Pueblo. This is my Get Real session. And I just want to talk to you, the voters, to say, is there something I'm missing here that we feel, the city feels, the county feels, that a minor league baseball team is the answer to Pueblo's problems? We have expanded, or are expanding, the convention center. We're touting the Bull Riders University, now minor league baseball. Am I the only one that's thinking this is a bit bizarre? It's like, Pueblo is like your house, okay? If you had a house and your drunken uncle was lying on the couch and your daughter walks in and she's prostituting and your kids are popping pills, and you say to someone, please come and visit me because I really want you to stay at my lovely home. It doesn't matter how pretty your home is. You cannot hide the fact that your uncle is drunk lying on the couch, that your daughter's prostituting, and kids have pills. So I'm asking Pueblo, why aren't we addressing the things that matter first and then talking about stuff that will bring people to Pueblo? Do we really want people to come here before we have made the city a really nice place to be? It seems like we have it backwards. We're not a destination city right now because we have a high crime rate and they're touting it all over the nation. So until we get that under control, how do we expect that 40,000 or whatever number you came up with, I say to City Council, that people are going to flock here because we have an expanded convention center? I'm not buying it, and I don't think a lot of people in Pueblo are buying it. So I'm saying get your house in order first, and then let's talk about all of these wonderful money-grabbing things that make absolutely no sense right now. We need a youth rec center, yes. We do not need a minor league baseball team. And I can say this because I was a CFO for a minor league baseball team, and it is a lot of work, takes a lot of room, has a lot of parking issues, and I don't see that as a solution for Pueblo right now at this time. Can we fix the homeless situation? Can we fix the drug addict problem? Can we fix our crime? Can we get more police dealing with the issues that we're facing right now, and then talk later about all of these grandiose ideas? Please, I am asking the citizens of Pueblo to make a very wise choice this election and not vote in the same people who have been talking about the same stuff over and over. This does not help the city. I want to help the city. I have a bunch of solutions that I think would work, and I know they would work because they're doing them in other cities. So let's get real, Pueblo. I'm Janet Wilson. I'm running for mayor, and these are the reasons why I'm running.
That's what you should do. If Chris Nickel is not going to run for mayor, then Chris Nickel can organize city council. He's been working with these guys for quite some time. So if he gets a veto-proof majority, if he can get 5 of them, and then he can override whatever the mayor wants, and city council can bully the mayor. However, in our government, 3 branches of government, the executive branch, he's going to be the face of Pueblo. Whoever is elected mayor is going to be Mr. or Mrs. Pueblo for 5 fucking years. We're going to put a lot of faith and a lot of hopes are going to be, tagged on to the individual that eventually wins this race. So they got the mandate, they got the Democratic mandate, the people wanted them to lead the entire town, so that's something. They're the executive branch. They have not just budget powers, but they also get to nominate, they got nomination powers, budget powers. They also have the power to arrest, and whoever becomes the mayor will be Mr. or Mrs. Pueblo City for 5 fucking years, unless there's some teapot dome scandal. And they'll be the man. They'll be the big cheese, right? The Big Mac with cheese whiz dripping all over it. So to break that veto-proof majority, all the first postmodern neo-Marxist mayor of Pueblo City needs to do is to befriend at least 4 of the city council folks. So let's assume Chris Nickel has already organized his veto-proof majority. So as an incoming mayor, well, befriend Chris Nickel. Let's see what you can agree on, let's see where the common ground is. Where can we, and if he doesn't want to work with you, then that means you're going to have to befriend 4 of the city council folks for yourself. So city council is going to run shit. Mayor's going to have to sit there like a fucking douchebag, but the mayor don't have to sign off of everything. And the mayor is the tie-breaking vote, and they have the budget powers and the power to fire the department. The biggest thing that the mayor is going to have is they're going to have a bully pulpit. They're going to have a bully pulpit. So they're the fucking man or the woman of Pueblo City. They're going to set the vision. They're going to set the agenda. They're going to set the tone for the entire, the entire city, for, including the federal and state agencies and county government. They will set the tenor for how Pueblo City is going to be ran. The 107,000 Puebloan people are going to be ran by this brand new mayor. So they're going to have a bully pulpit. If he just gets on the podium, if he gets on Twitter, gets on Facebook and just says, blah, blah, blah is doing this shit, we need to stand up and we need to do something different, he's got the bully pulpit. So the mayor and the judicial branch and the legislative branch, they should guard their own authorities, but they should also work together. I want to see them work together. I want strong executive, a strong legislative branch, and a strong judicial branch. I want strong 3 branches of government to prevent tyranny, which is council has the power to establish libraries. City council has the power to subpoena, investigate the police. City council has a lot of power. The mayor has a lot of power too. The mayor is a strong executive. The mayor is still a strong executive, and the legislative, they got powers too. So they get to write the laws. Executive enforces them, and the judicial branch judges them, for judicial review, but also throws people in jail. So some of the judicial branch, at least the prosecutor, there's a little bit of executive authority there in the judicial branch. But the Pueblo City Council will have to write all the laws. The mayor can't write a single fucking law. But then the Pueblo City Council, they can override the mayor. So the mayor doesn't have to agree with the laws that they write, but in a way he has to enforce them, or he's supposed to enforce them. And they might try to sue him if he doesn't. But he could try to say, well, I'm my own person, so I ain't got to...
my heart is in it. I'm not doing this for the money. I think what makes me different is that I've had experience with the things that aren't working in Pueblo. And it's a real hurdle, whether you're doing business here or, sometimes it's who you know to get things done. And I don't feel it should be that way. I think things should run on their own merit. If a good thing is good, it should be good for the city regardless of whether someone likes you or not. And I find the city has a lot of, and I've been told this a few times, it's who you know, and I don't like that. So I hope that my message to the people is that they can count on me to be unbiased and look at things in a totally, is it good for Pueblo approach. And I want to listen to the young people, especially because I think we've missed a whole generation. When you see people coming out of CSU that can't wait to get out of Pueblo, that tells you there's a problem. When you see kids going into gangs because there's no sense of belonging, that's a problem. So these are all issues I hope to address. And I do have some solutions, which I'll go into individually.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Noemi.
I think it would be easier for Pueblo City Council to get at least 4 council members to be in solidarity with the new ordinance. Say, let's get Pueblo City back on the legal status. Let's get back on track with the charter convention, actually get it on the same page, and then get the mayor to sign that motherfucker. That's the easiest way to pass laws. Get 4 council members, get a simple majority, then get the mayor to sign that motherfucker. If the mayor does veto it, and you have the Chris Nichols supermajority, you'll just have to wait till 2 weeks until the next meeting in order to pass the thing. So that's a power. That's a power. Because do you want to pass the law right now? If you want to pass the law right now, well, the mayor has just barely enough power to get that law. Get 4 members, get a simple majority, the mayor signs it, it becomes law. It becomes Pueblo law. So if the city council goes through the mayor's office, they'll be able to get the law passed then and there. If they go through the veto-proof legislative person to do. I want my mayoral candidates to rail against the establishment. Rail against the establishment. If they do good, give them some lip service. But where they're fucking up, make sure you point out their fuck-ups. Okay? When it comes to them being wrong, we need to be radical. When it comes to us being right, we need to be conservative. So if Janet Wilson criticizes Larry Atencio, Bob Schilling the entire time, I think that both Bob and Larry will kiss her ass as soon as she becomes the mayor. So to think that Janet Wilson could say this or say that makes them mad and they're all upset about it and butthurt, they'll get over it. They'll get over it. And her being critical, I want her to be critical of it. And if we actually, I don't want to get rid of the 3 branches of government, but, a charter convention, it would completely switch things up. But I want a strong legislative, judicial, executive branch. The mayor, if I was the mayor, I would strive for unanimous consent. There's only 7 council folks. You're telling me you can't find a unanimous agreement with only 8 people? If all 7 of the city council member folks are reasonable, I think the mayor ought to attempt to make them all happy if possible, and then we would usher in a century of a Pax Americana utopia, a century of peace and a renaissance and an enlightenment, the second enlightenment for the people of Pueblo City and for the world. So, in short, Chris Nichols could have a legislative block of 5, which overrides the mayor, and then they could pass, city council could pass every single law, and they'll have to force the mayor to listen to it. Because if it's the law and he doesn't comply, or if he doesn't enforce the law, even the laws he disagrees with, he might be able to get into trouble. But if the mayor is charismatic and he takes charge and he's a good leader, and they're able to, I think the mayor can break that.
Les affaires courantes dans le pays. Sont décisions qui sont difficiles en pile. Moi, je connais difficile. Parce qu'il faut ne pas oublier. L'État, chaque année, l'État mettait, parfois il met 200 millions, parfois il 250 millions, parfois il compte pi mal, compte pi retour. Mais moyenne, l'argent nous dépensé dans la subvention courant ici, il y a environ 200 millions de dollars. Ça veut dire, nous mettons à terre presque 14 milliards de gouttes dans subventionner les affaires courantes chaque année. Et pourtant, un pile monde à travers tout le pays a plein pour courant. Un pile monde pas joindre courant. Est-ce que pouvoir qu'on saute bas moyen ou te bon moi pour me prendre décision qui bon pour vous ou bien pour me prendre décision qui pour faire que bagaille continue pour aller j'en te qu'on fait longtemps. Moi crois que ou te prendre décision pour bon pouvoir pour me prendre décision qui n'a intérêt collectivité. Ça veut dire qu'il n'a intérêt tout le monde. C'est pour ça que depuis nous parler, moi toujours dit nous ça. Moi attendez. Parce que nous commençons nous voyons message là-bas moi depuis hier soir. Message à me prendre. Mais je dis à me fin prendre message là. Me prend, me corriger ça pour corriger. M'a demandé nous entrer la caille. Qu'un calme. Gap pile de dégâts qui ont été faits dans le pays déjà. Mes amis, le pays n'a pas fait machine. Regardez combien de machines qui écrasent. Le pays d'Haïti n'a pas produit vite. Regardez combien vite qui écrasent. Le pays d'Haïti n'a pas produit gros biens qui ont vendu gros matériaux de construction. Regardez combien qui a passé. Combien de temps moun ça a gagné pour faire travail. Ils ont travaillé, c'est haïtien même genre nous. Ils ont travaillé pour te construire tête paille, pour te vivre avec petit yo, avec famille, puis bien. Mais malheureusement, je dis, ils ont la peine. Parce que quand pile Zach brigandage qui fait dans le business qui est gagné. Moi, vous voyez, un mot spécial pour eux. Et m'a dit, je ne peux pas diriger un État qui est irresponsable. L'État, ça, là, toujours là pour le responsable. Parce que le peuple haïtien, son peuple qui est un monde qui a dirigé. Ça veut dire, peuple là, je connais que il y a pile de dégâts qui fait. Peuple là, je connais que il y a pile côté que il y a des gens qui cherchent pour mener. Ce n'est pas là où tu veux aller. Mais je dis, je dis, côté ça, que nous avons un groupe qui choisit pour mener les derniers 24 heures de temps que ça passe, je connais ce n'est pas là où vous aller. Où vous aller pour aller travailler dans de bonnes conditions, pour un bon job, pour faire vivre avec dignité. Ou pas voulez aller entrer dans un sac pour vous. Ou pas remettre ça qui passe. Je demande nous aujourd'hui, Haïtiens, frères Maxime, tout le monde entre la caillou. La police, la justice, prend contrôle pour nettoyer, pour protéger la rue. Parce que nous parlons, le président nous tendez nous. Les présidents nous tendez nous. Le président nous là pour le travail, pour chercher l'autre gens. Mais dit conditions juge à vivre là, il n'est pas possible. Comment pour un juge, pour finir juge un criminel, et puis pour monter dans une motocyclette pour la caille? Comment pour un juge, pour les dates caille pour le payer, il n'y a pas qu'à faire reste fort la caille? Il n'y a pas qu'à c'est pour finir dans le pays. Mais c'est pour un seul jour qu'a fini. Nous avons un président qui est aujourd'hui, qui paraît pour nous faire ensemble. Parce que le pays a trois pouvoirs. Le pouvoir exécutif, le pouvoir législatif et le pouvoir judiciaire. Mais je dis, chef de l'État, président de la République, garant de la bonne marche des institutions, nous là, pour nous mettre l'autre côté, il y a des gens. Peuple là, nous croyons que nous arrivons dans un moment pour mettre la caille. Pour travailler, continuer à faire dans le pays. Parce que ça, moi, c'est un coup, c'est nos routes, nous allons à droite, et puis nous gardons le camion à la falaise. Chance, nous y en freiner. On nous reprend direction. Droite, pour nous aller, pour mettre le pays sur le changement tout le monde. Merci. Que ça nous vient pour nous faire, pour nous mener le développement en bas, nous mener le bas. Mais pas oublier. Pendant que nous avons pour ça, nous-mêmes, nous gardons à soi. rentrer la caille. Pas quitter personne qui a chauffé tête. Parce que moun qui dit magasin ça c'est pour un monde qui a la vie meilleure parce que on ne doit pas prendre problème moun ça. Combien de doit la banque? Combien de mois pour payer la banque? Qui ça te fait pour être capable de mettre bagage ça à camper pour te faire Haïti vin plus belle, pour te faire Port-au-Prince vin plus belle, pour te faire l'autre pays te quoi dans nous. Image ça, c'est pas les mêmes nous les vendre aujourd'hui. Regardez, avion pas entrer dans le pays depuis hier soir. Aujourd'hui, avion pas entrer. C'est pas un bon bagage pour nous. Nous mettons sous pouvoir pour image pays ensemble avec nous, nous changer. Moi toujours dis nous, l'on bagage passé. Nous connaissons comment pour nous parler avec moi. M'entendez-nous à travers les réseaux sociaux, m'entendez-nous à travers la radio, la télévision. Mais m'entendez-nous. Pour quelle que soit la décision qu'on va prendre, que nous ne pas contents pas ici. Réaction ça, yo pas bon. Nous sommes peuple qui a une dignité. Nous sommes peuple qui a une fierté. Nous sommes peuple qui respecte les affaires de l'autre monde. Nous ne sommes pas un peuple qui qu'on été pour nous railler les gens qui sont à côté de nous. Nous sommes peuple haïtien, pays d'Haïti, c'est maman liberté. C'est nous-mêmes si nous songeons, les frères nous, accès nous, nous pareil nous qui sommes en Afrique, qui sont venus dans le bateau qui sont échoué en Haïti. L'autre pays étranger te demandé pour tourner esclaves aller. Réponse président Pétion. Il te dit que je tourné le bateau avant nous. Mais les gens ne sont pas objet encore. Nous c'est maman liberté. Comment après 214 ans c'est la nuit? Comment après 214 ans nous avons montré l'autre nation qui a acté ça là, dans décision qui prend pour gaz, retirer subvention, ou pas content parce que le président entendait ou pas là le président. Nous prenons décision depuis après-midi. Entrer la caille. La police côté pour faire travail. Pour le propre la rue avec travaux publics. Pour le monde, demain matin, cavaquer à l'occupation. Le président, pour te voter. Depuis le premier tour, pour te mettre pour diriger. Qui a dirigé depuis 17 mois. Qui a dirigé le pays avec vous. Je ne vais jamais diriger le sang. Je vais diriger la veille parce que tout ça m'a fait. C'est pour servir. Tout ça m'a fait. C'est pour me pouvoir battre. Je ne vais pas faire un jour que nous réfléchissons bagaille pour ne pas travailler, pour me pouvoir battre. Même gens nous capable de construire dans toute section communale. Même gens nous entendons directeur et PPLS dit que sous mandat ça, a construit 20 000 cailles. Mais 20 000 cailles, il y a un appartement et tout. Appartement que nous allons construire pour policiers, appartement pour professeurs d'école. L'autre jour dans CSPJ, je parlais